Views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
You know that moment when you realize you have mastered your wellness. When you've become so resilient, you can conquer any hiccup life throws you. Yeah, well, me either. But I still ride unicorns. I'll teach you how to become a mindset master. You will learn how your habits and behavior affect your success of nutrition, exercise, relationships, organization, and so much more. It's your reality, and you need to do it your way. Self-care and self-love are anything but selfish. Take charge, get excited. If not now, then when? Grab your espresso and get ready to talk all things wellness. It's time for Coach, Couch, and Coffee Radio with Coach Peggy Willms right now.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Coach, Couch, and Coffee Radio here on Transformation Talk Radio. It is going to be a special show today. I'm so excited. I'm here every Monday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern. As you know, we sit here and we talk about anything goes. And I am so excited about my guest today. This topic is Rebel with a Cause, just because. I'm telling you, have you guys ever heard? You've probably been a rebel. All 2-year-olds are rebels, right? So you've either known a rebel or you've tried to talk to them about certain suggestions, where you want to go eat, whatever. And they buck you on everything. Welcome to my profession. Everybody bucks me on everything. But I want to talk to you today about being a rebel. Might just be like who you are. We're going to talk about that. Or you might be a rebel just with wellness. You try to self-sabotage or set yourself up for failure. So today we are going to talk to one of my very, very favorite rebel clients. Took me about a year probably to convince her that she was a true rebel. You guys are going to love her. She is here. Welcome, Elaine Clark.
Thanks, Peggy.
So excited for you. Did you bring your mug? I always bring a unicorn mug. What did you bring today? And what's in it?
I am not drinking coffee for this program. I am having tea, so I'm in a tea mug. Oh, a little tea mug with a tree on it.
That's so cute. I know, it's so funny that the show is called, Coach, Couch, and Coffee, or Coffee Time. And half the time, because it's 6 Eastern, I used to be really cool. Like I could do the coffee thing anytime and
so
sleep.
Like midnight. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And now I'm like, oh my God, only half decaf after 1. So are you excited to be on here and just share our love for each other? I mean,
sure.
Our love-hate relationship we've had for the last few years.
Yeah. And you started off by saying that you've convinced me that I'm a rebel, but I mean, we'll see.
I haven't.
I
You're
don't
still
think
rebelling against that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Let's start in the beginning, because we're definitely going to explain to everybody like what even is a rebel, because I have 4 tendencies that I use with my clients. That is off of Gretchen Rubin's work. So I do want to eventually get there. But I think it would be very helpful if we explained to everybody how we even met in this universe, how we were brought together. Okay. I think you were forced, but let's hear your side of the story. How did we meet?
Yeah. So my brother, you were coaching my brother, and he had a lot of success with his weight loss, and he wanted to help me. And he wanted to send me to a boot camp, and I said, absolutely not. And so then he came back and he said, well, my coach does these series. And no, actually, I think he put Catherine, his wife, who's very sweet. So she was, it's really good, and you need to do this series, and it's going to be so helpful, and I'm going to pay for it, and it's not that long, and you just have to just try it out. So I was like, I don't have any excuses. Like I was trying to
Right.
find one and I couldn't find one. So I was like, okay, it's free, it's easy, it's
Yeah.
Facebook, it's at home. I'm out of excuses. So I tried it.
Yes. I'll never forget you, even if I didn't talk to you after today. You're just one of those profound, and I think everybody who's ever been in a series with you or a retreat that you have come to, it you're hysterical. I mean, you're funny, right? Of course you do.
Well, I mean, it's always off-putting when someone says you're funny, and then you're sort of in this position where you have to be funny. But
Right.
I mean, I use humor a lot. I think it's sort of a tool for me.
Oh,
I deflect tension with it. I deflect awkwardness with it. Whatever. I
that's true.
just
That's a good
and I just really enjoy having a good time. So if you can laugh about something, you're going to enjoy it a lot more. So.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's a really good point. I hadn't really thought of it that way. So, before we get into any of the descriptions of what we're talking about as far as being a rebel and how it connects with wellness and all of the fun stories we have, would you consider looking back before we met, you knew what a rebel was, that you were somewhat of a rebel? Because I mean, even your bio itself for the show was cracking me up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't think I ever used that word, but
Right.
I don't think I ever would have said, no, I'm a rule follower. I do what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. No, I'm
Right.
not. But I'm also not like, I don't like to break laws. I don't like to get caught doing things I shouldn't do. So to an extent, I might buck the label saying I'm not a real rebel. I'm just like a rebel everywhere I can get away with it, maybe. And like,
Right.
not get myself into too much trouble. But I do like making my own decisions by doing things my way. So,
Can you pinpoint how far back that goes? Like, what's your birth
uh,
order? So explain the sibling order here.
okay. So my three brothers are 7, 11, and 13 years older than me. So I was a surprise baby, and my parents were tired, so I got to really be a rebel and enjoy it pretty much. Um, my dad and I butted heads a lot because he was used to being, the authoritarian in the family. And my mom was like, she's just a little girl and da da da. And so I was able to sort of get away with a lot of things my brothers
Yeah.
weren't. Yeah. But I definitely had it easier in the family. And I mean, we had a thing, speaking of being a rebel, we had a mantra that went from my second oldest, my third oldest brother, and then me to the next sibling up was always, "You're not the boss of me." I mean, we said it all the time. "You're not the boss of me. You're not the boss of me. You're not the boss of me." And of course, they were usually in a position where they were the boss because they were babysitting or something. But,
Right.
we weren't going to have that. So,
Oh boy, I need to sell that t-shirt. That's a good one. And I could put Elaine Clark underneath it. We could make some good money off that. You're not the boss of me. Let's So before we started working together, let's start with the wellness thing. So what was your goal when we started with this series? That's just to let everybody know that's how we started. So virtual series. There were about 12 women in the group. Elaine came along. It's a virtual series, so she could be at home, hanging out, whatever, in her PJs. So she was out of excuses. And you came along into this series. What would you say your thought was coming into it? Because share with us what your previous wellness journeys maybe were and what your thought was as a goal coming in. What were you thinking?
well, I would say I had absolutely no idea what to expect. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't know how you were going to be, what requirements, what constraints. I had no idea. So that's not a comfortable place to be, but
Right.
I dove right in. And I mean, my number one goal was lose weight. I mean, that's what it's always been, lose weight. And it's not that I don't intellectually associate losing weight with being healthier and, living longer and, being more fit and not carrying so much weight around will make you feel better and all of that. But it was always about the number,
Always
how
about the
much,
scale. Yeah.
yeah, how much weight can I lose?
Yeah.
So when we started the series, I thought, okay, so here we are, day one, and she's gonna tell me what I need to do, and that's gonna be the recipe for losing weight. So we started the series, and you said, okay, now everybody close their eyes. And I was like, what is this? And I was, okay. So I'm closing my eyes, and you're like, imagine that you are someone that doesn't have any arms or doesn't have any legs. And you went through this whole big imaginary scene, which I am not good at all. And it was, of course, it was to, sort of appreciate what you have and realize that you have to work around some obstacles, even if they're not that severe. And all, I got the lesson,
Right.
But of course, then every time we had a meeting, you're close your eyes, and oh my God, can we just like tell a story? Like, I'll tell a story. Let me
Right.
tell a story to start. But
Right.
no,
Oh, my
yeah.
face is
So
going to hurt after this show because
yeah,
you're
so I had
responsible.
no idea that it was going to be like that. And but it was fun. It was fun, and I hated it,
Oh,
all of
not
that.
really. Yeah, no, not really. I mean, you were the great thing about the series you always participated. 100%. You were always there. You had great input. You weren't, passive. You were a good team player. Whether behind the scenes you were completing tasks fully or not, because that all unfolded. But you never came across as somebody who was derogatory in the sense of, I don't want to do this. I mean, you were transparent to a certain point, but it wasn't like you ever brought the team down. That's why I enjoyed so much working with you, because you do have a sense of humor and you did tackle any of the commitments that we had as best you could in the moment. But it was the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, I remember some of the stories, and it's just from doing this so long that I could guess what your next steps would be. But I would say things to you and you're like, oh my God, do you have cameras in my house? And you would say to Shannon, I know she has cameras. And it just got to be so much fun with being one or two steps ahead of you that because I just knew where you were going to, and the emails behind the scenes. So you guys, for series, what we do is that we do have the virtual series, and we use Zoom. So everybody is up and on the screen like the Brady Bunch. And then I always have a private Facebook site in addition, so that the group, that's where we post, recaps or challenges, motivation, stuff like that. So we get to go off road and communicate there for 6 to 8 weeks. And that's where the party starts. And then Elaine and I have even a deeper relationship, because then comes the email exchanges, which we're going to
Are
go into
lengthy.
those.
They're lengthy. I mean, I have had clients say, look, keep your emails to like 2 sentences. That's all I've got time for. And I'm sending them, 4-page emails. Like, and then we did this, and then that's why this happened. And I don't want all that. Can you do it? Can you not do it? Why? Done. So I really have tried to rein that in at work. But when I get started, I just go on and on and on. And then here you come, like a minute and a half later, you've sent me like 4-page email back. And I'm like, are you using voice recognition? I mean, how are you doing? And I'm sitting there reading and reading and reading. And I'm like, well, now let me tell you. And back I go. So yeah. So you are like probably the person in my life that has written the most to me in a single email, like the longest emails. No, everybody else is, boop, 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 boop. But
And
yeah, we
see,
have
our
like,
words of affirmation, love language comes into play, because it's like, and you're going to listen to me, girl.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, it was great.
Exactly.
You guys, Elaine was sending me some of her emails, some of the emails we've had back and forth, and I haven't read them for a long time. And we've been working together off and on for almost 2 years. And I was reading them just in tears. And I'm going to actually read a couple of excerpts out of them here in just a minute. But I want to come back around to the goals being kind of like the scale or losing weight. So you had done the typical I mean, the Slim Fasts or tell me some of the journeys that you've been on, the Weight Watchers or what, because I don't want people to.
Slim Fast was great. Slim Fast to me was like, oh, this is perfect because I get up in the morning and I have a Slim Fast. And then at lunch, I have a Slim Fast. And I just don't think about food.
Yeah.
And then dinner comes, But I did pretty good with that because once you get that far through your day, you're going to try to be a little better what you do from, 4 o'clock till 10 o'clock.
Right.
So I did that a few times. I did Weight Watchers, which is a very healthy, balanced, reasonable way to structure your eating habits. So that worked very well. And I did aerobics. We're going back to the 80s. And so I did the whole, let's get physical, I did the whole 80s aerobics. I had like shiny leotards, those, like a leotard and then leggings.
Oh, yeah.
But I always thought I was chubby. So I'd put these like athletic shorts over top. And I thought that made it better.
So
leg warmers, high top shoes. Yeah.
Couple colors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So those are basically my go-tos back then. And, I started off with low fat. Then everybody said low carb. So I just, whatever the new thing was, I did. So.
And exercise, was that wasn't one of your favorites or it was?
No, I don't like exercising.
Yeah, that's what
I don't like exercising if it's exercising for the sake of exercising.
Correct.
So aerobics for me was good because do this for, 4 sets of 8 and then you're switching and then do something else and you're switching.
And you're
music. Going with the music. Yeah. You're going with the music and you get, okay. And we've done enough of this one and boom, it's the next song. Oh, this is a different, we're going to do this now and that. So that kept me really focused on, and I'm not real graceful. So I'm rather clumsy. So doing aerobics makes me focus on what I'm physically able to accomplish without breaking my neck. So the time just went by really fast. So I loved it. I really still enjoy that a lot.
You do. You've had some assignments of having some dance parties at home and they've been quite delightful, those videos.
Right.
Yeah, I still have access to those. Okay, so let's talk about this, you guys. One of the assignments early, whenever I start working with somebody initially, I have them take a test to figure out their love languages. They figure out their sleep, their chronotype, their biorhythm. So I've got videos out there, some shows out there. You can get onto 3wellnesspillars.com or on my YouTube and see what I'm talking about when I say Elaine is a bear. So we're not going to go too deeply into this show on being a bear, but I can tell you that Elaine is, she is to the point bear. She likes to frolic and she loves friends and socialize around laughter and food and naps. And wouldn't you say, Elaine, you're just like a mama bear, little bear cub. Okay. So then when we get to working together, I don't know, second or third time together, I try to figure out what habit following approach that clients have. So again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, Gretchen Rubin has lots of books out there, but the 4 tendencies, she goes into trying to figure out your feelings towards habits, your approaches, how you follow habits. And then that, I determined without letting Elaine know that she was a rebel way before she was willing to admit that she was a rebel. So the first thing that we figured out is we always say when it comes to habits, do you get bored or not get bored? And Elaine, you were a get bored. Right. So when it comes to food, you get bored. When it comes to exercise, you kind of get bored. So it needs to change pretty frequently. How often, is it 5 days with food and you're like onto something? Is it 5 hours or just opposite of whatever I say? Or
I think there was another thing that we learned in your series, which was about what kind of eater you are. Some people are habitual eaters. I forget what the other types were, but I was like the passionate eater. So
and emotional.
I was just talking about this the other day. I want something to eat. I'm hungry when I know I'm physically hungry. And I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want anything that I have. And I was like, I should be eating what I really, really want. And that's a bad habit that I got into, was just eating what was there. and I didn't even enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
so that was a big part of it. But getting bored is, I think, linked to that
Yeah.
because, I can only eat so many, egg white omelets with spinach and mushrooms. I need
Good point.
something going on there. So, so I was always constantly looking for new recipes, just searching for something different to eat
Yeah.
that was healthy.
And so the good thing about not being bored, because some people get bored with food and then they don't get bored with exercise. So you have to kind of be, some people can just get on the treadmill every day, which just shoot you because you'd rather do something
Uh,
that's
I mean,
fun.
food, I get a little bored with. Exercise, it's torture,
It's
torture.
torture.
You put me on a treadmill, and I'm just like, how many more steps?
Yeah.
How many step, step, step,
Yeah.
step, walking, 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 walk. I hate it. Put me
Yes.
in the woods hiking,
Yes.
and I like walking, but on
Love
the
it.
treadmill, I go crazy. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
And then the next step to that is we figured out you were a baby stepper, right? Because we want to look at the approaches, like how somebody dives into a habit, trying to embed a healthy habit. So there's fresh starters and there's baby steppers. So fresh starters typically go, oh, I want to run a 5K or whatever, and they sign up tomorrow without kind of thinking things through. And baby steppers can be great and kind of ticking along and doing a good job if we can get them started. So
Right.
baby stepper, right?
I think, yeah, I think I have the fresh starter idea in my head, and then I have a hard time on that first little baby step. So I always struggled with, where do I fall in this, because I think I'm the person who goes, yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna go to the gym this many times, and I'm starting on Monday, because I always start on Monday, right? You have to start
Right.
on Monday.
Of
And
course.
yeah, and so I but in my head, I'm thinking like I'm going to be huge. This is going to be wonderful. It's going to be this major transformation in my life. And then Monday
Honeymoon.
comes and I'm like, don't feel like it today. There's always another Monday. Or maybe this week I'll try it on a Tuesday, right?
Right.
Because you don't have to do it on Monday. You could do it Tuesday or
I've always
Wednesday.
wondered how many, if I could equate calories to the amount of time someone thinks or spends something, I mean, you
Oh,
would be at such a deficit. It's just ungodly how many
yeah.
scenarios you spin through before making kind of, because I remember I would say that in the emails. I would be like, Elaine, like I can't get these minutes back. Like I'm trying so hard and then they would just kind of just come all the way around it. Ah, I love it.
Yeah, because I was always asking, but why do I do that? Why do I mean, I'm trying to figure out why I have such a problem doing these exercises every morning and every night. I mean, I know they don't take long, but I don't want to do them. And you would say, just do them. I was like, but I really don't want to. And every time I'm supposed to be doing it, I'm thinking, I don't want to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And I would get stuck right there.
Yeah.
Well, why is it such a problem for me? I mean, is it the exercise? Is it the time of day? Is it because Peggy told me to do it? Really over analyzing it. And then I'd be like, well, it's lunchtime. I can't really do them in the morning
Oh
now.
gosh, I know. I know. We had so many conversations about, whether, is it procrastination, Elaine? And you'd come back and you'd go, well, I don't think it's procrastination. I think it's motivation. And I'd be like, okay, well, what's not motivating? Well, I don't know what's motivating. I mean, it would be go through organization and just all these
Yeah.
different things, which not demeaning the fact that we all want to try to figure out the whys. I think it's the amount of time that we had a relationship together that it started to really unfold where I was like, this chick is a full blown rebel. So I want to explain to you guys the difference of the 4 tendencies. So the first one is upholder. An upholder, the best way I can describe it is kind of the hoop jumper, the gold star, the person who can motivate themselves and stay committed to their own goals. The downside of an upholder is they often tend to get so tunnel visioned that they can get injured or sick and kind of not see it coming along. The One of the next ones is an obliger. An obliger, when I think of that, I usually think of my nurses and my moms, my at-home moms, where they will do wellness or they'll do things for themselves as long as it's for someone else as well. They usually don't keep their own boundaries for themselves. then they're ticked off after. And obligers, they really, really struggle with keeping their weight off or staying healthy because it's all about everybody else. Then there's a questioner. The questioner is like, I need to see the white paper. Why are we doing this? I need to know all of these things before I make a decision to do anything. Well, that doesn't always work with my industry because lots of times we're telling people to just do it because we need to know what falls out. So hold tight because Elaine is a questioner too. So then the last one is the rebel. So the rebel is somebody who they're the Wild West. They buck everything. They even buck themselves, you guys. So they really almost set themselves up to fail sometimes. I remember a rebel that came to me years ago and said, I just want you to know I've had 7 trainers and all of them. And I'm just going, oh, geez, here you are. Which tells you right there that, what's the commonality? It's them, right? Okay, you guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial. We're going to come back and talk to Elaine a lot more about being a rebel and kind of working through some of the things we have in our relationship and where she is with her wellness right now. So make sure you come on back for the after party. And you are listening to Coach Couch and Coffee with Coach Peggy. See you soon. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Coach Couch and Coffee Radio. I am here with one of my favorite rebel clients, Elaine Clark. We are talking about there's 4 tendencies when it comes to habits. And so we were talking about whether you're an upholder or a questioner, an obliger or a rebel. And so Elaine is one of my favorite rebels. It took us a while to figure you out, Elaine, wouldn't you say?
Yep.
You rebel / questioner. So when we went through this,
I'm really a questioner, aren't I? I mean, I'm a questioner, rebel / thing.
Yeah.
Because I ask a lot of questions
too.
Yeah, but only until I rebel.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
You are very complicated. And then I tell you you're unique. And then you're like, well, I'm not really unique because you told me I'm not that special. So it's very, very fun.
Circular.
It is. It's very safe when you have opinions that are all different angles because you always win. Because you don't really have to stand up for something. You can be like, well, but it's kind of. So I was thinking back. I actually think this is a really good summary to start off this segment. So you guys, I want to read you this email that is 2 years old. And it kind of is going to give you a little bit of a summary, and then we're going to come back around to how Elaine suffered through our work together. But there was an email that Elaine had sent to me. So she's done several of my series, and we've actually done some one-on-one stuff together. And then she came to a couples retreat, wellness retreat as well. So we're going to kind of talk about the differences there. But in this particular email, she had sent me, she was burned out. She's like, I'm not going to do this next one. These series really aren't working for me. I kind of like them, but I don't really like them. And then I'd have to come back to Elaine and go, come on now, look at how many things you've learned. You're amazing. And you've done this. And yeah, well, I kind of forgot that, but yeah, I guess you're right, but I still don't want to do it, but I might think about doing it. Well, when's the deadline? No, I really don't want to do it. So she had sent me this email kind of summarizing why she had made the decision. And I just want to read you the middle of it when I responded back, because I finally was like, oh, this girl, I'm just going to tell her like it is. I'm like, well, first of all, this is probably going to tick you off, but I'm just going to tell you like it is. You don't like logging. You don't truly like exercise. You don't like any of the spurts. You don't like challenges. You don't like it when I give you choices. Choose 3 or 5. Because I remember you were like, well, if you would stop just telling us exactly what to do. And because I changed this for you, if you would give us like 3 to 5 choices or so, then we could at least pick it. I remember doing that. And then you're like, you didn't like that either. So I'm like, okay, you don't like that. And then you're like, well, I don't like it when you tell us we have 24 hours to do something, or you don't give us a warning. So what if you told us we had maybe give us a warning for like 48 hours? I said, you don't like spurts with up to 48-hour warnings or even 5 days or a week. You don't like the 12 days of self giving. You don't like buddies or teams or assignments. You don't like contracts or really any other accountability. You don't like the results you're achieving. You always want more. You don't want to admit that results come from effort, and you know that, but you don't like it. You don't like that there is no cure and the fact that it never ends. And better yet, you don't like the fact that you are really not that abnormal. I was reading that today and I was like, oh my gosh. And there's so many other exchanges, you guys, that Elaine and I do that, obviously can't go on record because of FTC, but oh, we have fun. So I remember one of the series with contracts. And so the contracts that we did in the Power series are really about teaching accountability to yourself, getting it down, abiding by it, just like a marriage contract or buying a house. And that sent you over the edge. Do you remember, was it the detail? Like, what was it about the being contractual that just was like, ah?
Well, there's no room for making adjustments. And, I didn't realize how much I don't like commitments. Like,
Mm.
I even noticed that in my social life. I do it, but people will say, what are you doing Friday night? I'm like, I don't know. I wonder what they want me to do. Let's see. I don't think I'm busy Friday night, but I better check and make sure. And then they're like, oh, well, we're going to go to dinner over here. And I'm like, sounds good. Yeah, I'll go. And then Thursday, I'm like, oh, I wish I wasn't going to dinner tomorrow night. I would just like to stay home and da, 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 da. So then I go on Friday and I have a good time, and no harm in making a commitment that time. But I think I have that tendency to want to pull back from what I previously committed to. So then I sort of have imposed this internal stress on myself.
Right.
Like, you're going to do this next week. Well, when next week comes and I'm like, I don't want to do that, but you said you were going to do it. I mean, it's that word should. I
even to yourself, because I've seen you do that too, the commitments to yourself. Do you treat the commitments to yourself any differently than you treat the commitments to others, as far as setting yourself up? And I mean, because you have it's the
commitment
same.
to myself means nothing. It means absolutely zero, because I do so much talking in my head.
Yeah.
That when I say, oh, I think tomorrow I'm going to clean out the hall closet, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, if I don't do anything else, I'm going to clean out the hall closet. Tomorrow comes, I don't clean out the hall closet. What difference does it make? I didn't say it out loud. Nobody heard me. So it really doesn't mean anything. If I make a commitment to somebody else, I am pretty committed to it if I believed in it in the first place, maybe.
Right.
That might be rebellish. It's like, if I committed to doing something that I want to do, I'm definitely all in.
Yeah.
If I committed to doing something I don't want to do, I will do it if they really need me to do it. But if I committed to something and I think, well, there's going to be 5 of us doing it, so they're really not going to hurt if I don't go, then I might back out.
How has that been because I know you're self-employed. And so how has that been with that spinning at work and this type of, because I suspect it bleeds over into professional and personal too, not just your wellness, like just these patterns. So have you had to modify anything in any other realm of your life, not just wellness commitments to yourself?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the reason that I ended up in management in my career is because my career is so deadline focused. And so the production work, creating the drawings that we have to do for our work, had to be done by a certain deadline. So if you procrastinated, you would be late. I mean, you can only procrastinate so much. In management, you're just sort of making sure everybody else isn't procrastinating. And you're sort of observing things and making sure things are done the right way and scheduling things and all of that. But it's those are tasks that don't always have a deadline. I mean, some of my tasks do, of course,
Right.
but and that is usually another problem, is that my to-do list can grow very long if it doesn't have a deadline. So if somebody says, I need you to do this by Friday, it will get done by Friday. But if somebody says, I really need you to work on this and come up with something
Yeah.
for this, it's
Yeah.
perpetual. I mean, I have literally, probably, if I went through all my records, I probably have 500 things that I had set up to do to
Wow.
help the business. Like, just, I mean, all kinds of random things. But that's over
Right.
15 years. But,
Right.
and probably some of them are the same, right? Because I
Mhm.
decided I needed to do something. And then 3 years later, I was like, I really need to do this, forgetting that I had committed to myself I was going to do that 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's true. That's true. I'm wondering when it comes to wellness, like what are some of your rebel tendencies when it comes to food? So what's some of the self-talk and then also how do you strategize around it to try to eat healthier these days? Because you have learned a lot and everybody's walking the path. There's no cure. We get it. But when it comes to just the food topic, what's that world like in your little head?
um, well, I've talked to you about how easily influenced I am by other people's choices.
Right.
So that comes back to that personal integrity. If I say I'm going to eat healthy and then I'm around people who are eating unhealthy, then I just, yeah, I'll have pizza, yeah, I'll have whatever.
Right.
So that's part of it. And I think the rebellion it's not really a thing that I decide. It's more like lack of commitment. It's
Yeah.
just, if I, well, we've talked about this too. I know what I need to do, right?
Correct.
It's
Yes.
not a mystery. And
Right.
and I thought maybe I was the only person who had not lost weight that
Right.
actually knew exactly how to do it. Everybody else was struggling with, how do you get this done? And
Right.
I know how to get it done. I
Right.
just don't do it, right?
Right. Right.
So I think what I rebel against is all those shoulds. You should eat this, you should have more protein, low carb, blah, 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 blah. And I
So
just,
when we talked about this, is it the binding of like saying going public or accountability or having a buddy that would bind you to that commitment that then raises up that rebel behavior? Because we talked about like even with a series, you have 11 other women. There's like we're all here together. We do pre and post measurements. We're doing challenges. We love each other, and you've got that accountability. And then the screen closes and everybody goes onto their real world, and I'm obviously not in your house to know what you're really doing. But
mhm.
how did you stay committed? What tools or strategies are you putting in place to keep staying healthy with nutrition if the lack of commitment like that falls off the wagon? What are you doing now?
Well, I think what I do when I'm doing well,
Right.
which I don't
let's
know,
let's
when you
leave
threw in the word now, I'm thinking about, yesterday, the day before. But when I am doing well with my
yeah.
eating habits, it's mostly about not having my temptations in the house and
Right.
having the real set of go-to things for me, like easy, convenient things that are still healthy and things that I really, really like. Um, and like this week, we did go make this pico de gallo that my brother taught me how to make, and it's so yummy. And then we have like a taco salad with that, and we can eat that like 3 times a week because
Right.
we don't have it that often. But when we do, we kind of,
Try to
that's
be
our
habitual.
staple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. I mean, mostly for me is if it's around, I'm very weak, very
Well,
weak.
the tough part is that you work from home, and we've talked about this. We've talked about, even studies that say if we get up, and I work from home too, so we had this in common, but studies say that if you get up and act like you're going to work, and actually there's some that say if you wear shoes around the house, you're even more productive because it's hard when you work from home. It's
Yeah.
really hard to not go, oh, I'll throw in some laundry or, oh, I'll eat at 2 instead of noon. And so what what are you doing when you're doing well, or whatever your strategies are? I mean, planning the foods ahead of time obviously is this, the best way to get an A/B, whatever. But is that your
Right.
biggest, because you guys are pretty active right now. So is the nutrition one still the
Yeah, and
little,
I think probably if I didn't really think about it in that simple of terms, probably working from home is making it
it's
really
hard.
challenging because
Yes.
it's here, the food is here all the time. You go to the office, you might bring your lunch, but you don't bring your lunch and a pantry full of junk food.
Well, and plus you're
You
exposed to all those other people and you're not tending to shovel it, and, you're looking at 10 chips maybe and you're sneaking them like this. At home, we can do,
just whatever. Yeah.
yeah, kind of whatever. And there's a lot less activity unless it's, dedicated activity. And I know, so that's one thing that really amped up in the last few years is you found fun in fitness again. You guys are more active and you're going to the gym. That's probably what's keeping you, you know,
Well,
really you're doing.
it's keeping me from going in the other direction
Yeah.
at a rapid pace, but it's if I am on board with that totally all the time, it's much better. But I did put on some weight because I was still exercising, but I was eating with abandon. I mean, it was like I'm on a diet or I'm not on a diet. There's no in between. It's either
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's my biggest problem is that I'm either eating healthy today or
Or
we're just like you
black and
might as
white.
well get it out of your system today because you need to start eating healthy tomorrow.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. What if there's no tomorrow?
yeah.
Right. I mean,
Well, don't
yeah.
get me started on
Don't get
that
me started
because
on that. So let's go into the mindset pillar, right? So pillar number 3. So there sits all the emotion, the habits, the behaviors, all of that super fun stuff, which, keeps us on track or not on track. So when we first started talking about mindset and doing lots of this work and discovery, I mean, that really stirs up a bunch of crap. You're looking at your family history and anything you pulled forward. I know one of the emails that we had sent back and forth, actually you copied me on it, but you'd sent it to your brother and sister, and that was all the collage work that you did. Because we, in one of the series, I had said go back and do all of these, pictures from each, time frame or whatever, decades, and find, kind of the healthy ones. And then we had discussion about, well, were you really healthy? Were you sleeping? Were you eating well? Some of those things. But how did mindset, that pillar, what did that uncover for you, or would you learn from that?
well, I think that collage was I remember telling you at the time that was huge for me because it showed me how I believe that I gained so much weight because every step through my life when I gained more weight, I thought I was fat. And
Yeah.
but I
No matter
thought
what
that when
weight.
I weighed like 136
Yeah.
pounds in high school,
Mhm.
because I didn't weigh 120 or 110 like some of my friends. So I felt fat in high school, lost some weight, went to college, gained some weight, felt fat, got engaged, had to lose some weight for the wedding, gained the weight after the wedding, starting on the honeymoon, gained the
Right.
weight, gained the weight, gained the weight through the
'Cause it's my
marriage,
last
had a
honeymoon,
baby.
Elaine says, that little rebel.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I gained weight and I had a child and I gained more weight and I was like, nearly double what I was in high school when I thought I was
Yeah.
fat.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, I think I need to quit, thinking about being fat or not fat. I need to think about, and I really do try, and it's hard because it's embedded. The
Right.
idea that I'm healthy is or what I want is to lose weight. That's what
Right.
predominates. But I think it's really important for me to reflect all the time on I am so much healthier. My numbers are better at the doctor.
That's what I was just
I'm
gonna say, you're
I
stronger.
can go up
Yes.
and down the steps. I mean, when I we our office is upstairs in my house, and before I started this, I was like, oh, 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 every time I walk up and down the steps. Now I'm like, no problem. Not that that's a big deal, but it's a
It is a
thing
big
that
deal.
I notice
Yeah.
every single day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then, just when I go out somewhere and we're walking and walking and walking at a festival or something, doesn't bother me. When we went hiking and I'm going up these hills now, granted nearly killed me, but I made it. I was talking to Shannon as we were climbing up this hill, and it was super duper steep. The waterfall was supposed to be like 0.3 miles away, but it was like 0.3, just kept going like this straight up. So we got like halfway up, 0.1 miles up this hill. And I was, I said, what? This is ridiculous. I've been working out. Why is this like this? We went the other way and got up there, but I was like, no, I wouldn't have done it before. I would have just stopped. And I did have to stop and catch my breath because I'm not in as good a shape as she is. She's younger. She's not carrying as much weight, and she's more athletic and stronger than I am. So she was ready to keep going and I had to stop. But, I noticed that and that's important. And I think if I keep reminding myself of that, it helps me get back on track instead of beating myself up when I gain 5 pounds or even 10 pounds,
Yes. That's part of human nature that's frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating for everybody, and we're just designed that way, I guess, because we'd just be wallowing in a corner, rocking back and forth naked if we didn't get past this. But we do forget to give ourselves credit or remember, all the successes that we've had or how far we've come. I mean, truthfully, when anybody looks back, I'm not just saying this to be nice to you, but you really, really, in the last couple of years, from the Elaine I met and through all of our conversations and the work, and here you are 2 years later, you really have learned a lot. And the most important thing is the things that have embedded are the important things that will help you recognize that, maybe I do need a little bit of a spark. Maybe I'm going to do something I freaking hate to do for 2 weeks, but I can get back on the wellness wagon. And I mean, some of the big ones was making fitness fun again and doing group activities because you do enjoy people. The other thing is getting, Shannon and some of your friends involved that, we do hang out with like-minded people and you guys socialize a lot. And I know you have learned that, I mean, it is a balance. You're going to have to be super active to kind of balance that. But the mindset piece I would say with you is to really, really try to remember how far you've come, just strength wise, mindset wise, and try to, your self-talk it's got to be exhausting, girlfriend.
Oh yeah.
Like you should drink margaritas all day long,
Yeah.
Then you
Well,
take
if you read my Facebook posts, you would think that's all I do, but I mean, I talk about drinking margaritas much more often than I drink margaritas.
Well, I tell you, your Facebook, I mean, you kind of went away for a while there. You were busy. And I remember saying to you, if you don't start posting, because it is just like my Smothers Brothers every day. I swear nobody knows who that is, but you make me laugh. Okay. So as we finish up the show today, because we could go on forever and we honestly could write a book, what would you say are your biggest struggles right now as a rebel that maybe you can help any of the listeners or anybody watching that as a rebel, you would give them advice to try to improve what you've learned?
Oh,
or admit, or I don't know. The floor is yours on your thoughts.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say that, but I think that for me, it is the self-talk. It is because I tell myself, you're going to do this. No, you don't really want to do that. Just, you could always wait and you could do this and you could that, whatever. And I think for me, the biggest key to it is doing instead of thinking. Because if I think things, I will rebel against them.
You have 30 seconds pretty much to do it, or you're going to talk yourself out of it. That's what.
Yeah. And I do. I'm good at that. Really good at that. I mean, that's what I did in college. I talked myself out of going to classes, and that's why I didn't do very well.
Or talk yourself out of college altogether.
Exactly. So if I don't really want something and I haven't bought into it, I can talk myself out of it quickly. So that's why exercise has stayed really much easier for me, which was my biggest struggle in the beginning. But that's because I have people who are going to exercise and they're waiting for me to be there. They're expecting me, and they give me a hard time when I don't go. Yeah. So that's a key for me too, is that if somebody is expecting me to do the right thing, then I don't tend to rebel against it that much. So,
Yeah. We just got to find everybody has to find their, sometimes it's exercise, sometimes it's nutrition that somebody is stronger in than the other, and I always say it is commendable when somebody does a really good job in the exercise lane, because that's what takes a ton of time. Just going to a 1 hour class, depending on driving, can take you 2.5 hours every day that you go. So that is really commendable. I think part of what you do is you look at it as socializing too, and a commitment to others. And just, I would just say, maybe for anybody listening who's a rebel with the food, is to try to think about how many ways you can do the same thing like Elaine does with the exercises, pulling other people, socialize, trying to maybe all going on a healthier plan, or try to take bread out for 2 weeks as a group, just something that involves kind of a group of people. All right, girl. Well, anything else that you want to share? I mean, it goes by like that.
Yeah. No, I don't have any more words of wisdom.
So no other words of wisdom. So when you solve all of this and you're ready to become a coach and take over, I think I'm going to give all my rebels to you so that I can get payback. You can see
Okay.
you have to deal with you every day. So it wouldn't be like you'd be ready for
Yeah,
it.
I'd be like, oh, I know exactly what's going on here. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And you guys, thanks for listening. You bet. Thanks for listening to Coach Couch and Coffee Radio. I'll be here next week. I'm going to talk about the evil twins, organization and procrastination. So two twins, a set of twins that Elaine knows very well. We all do.
Right. They're my twins. They're my babies.
They're her babies. So you come back next week, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 Eastern, and I will talk to you then. So get real and keep it real.
Thank you for listening to Coach Couch and Coffee Radio with me, Coach Peggy Willms. Did you hear something that made you go, or have an aha moment? I live for those. If not, we will get you next time. I will be back every first and third Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific. The tough love you to become smarter, stronger, braver, healthier, and happier. Duh. I will be back with a barrel of positivity, and you never know when a guest might pop in. There is no time for excuses. So don't forget to bring your coffee and an open mind as we talk all things wellness on Coach Couch and Coffee Radio with me, Coach Peggy Willms. Now go grab a ray of sunshine.